from the void of emptiness. Oneness conjured up something. Within this group of the father proton, the son neutron, and the mother electron, the whole of everything was formed. This is the first atom, the beginning of thought. This is the matrix womb. Thought formed this energy that glowed as in an electrically charged atom. This glow produced light. Everything in our reality that is able to be thought out comes into existence. We live in a 3D dimensional thought universe. Everything we observe is thought, which in turn is light. Everything visible in the 3D space is light. If matter is accelerated to the speed of light times the speed of light, all that exists is formed from energy and light. Thought brings the energy into an existence at a subatomic level and slowly becomes part of the holodeck. This so-called reality is like holographic Lego building blocks. Everything around us was created from thought, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. This is the ayin of Judaism, where something is created out of nothing. When thinking a thought of corresponding sounds and shapes, suddenly matter appears. This is how the whole universe was formed, from this matrix womb.
At its ultimate level, say in M theory or string theory, reality is not solid, it's mostly empty space, and whatever solidity it has seems more to resemble a hologram picture rather than material, harsh, solid reality. It's a shimmering reality that seems to be very susceptible to the power of thought.
Law of mentalism, what that means is everything is of mind. We are connected to the same mind that manifested all of this in thoughts. If you close your eyes right now, close your eyes, exactly where you are, just close your eyes. All you are without your vision is a speck of consciousness. All you are right now in this place where you can't see anything is you're a something that has the ability to be aware. If I were to chop off your baby finger on your left hand, and once the pain was done, would anything change in your awareness where you are right now? No. If I was to chop off your whole hand, your legs, if I was to chop off everything of your body besides what needed to be there vitally in order for your mind to carry on functioning, would anything change where you are now with your eyes closed? Nothing. Because all we are specks of godly consciousness. We are aspects of the same mind that created everything. Open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, woof, your story. Son of, daughter of, father to, mother to, sister of, brother of, I did this, I did that, I want this, I want that. I hurt those people, I helped those people, I'm good like this, I'm bad like that. This whole story, as soon as you realize, as soon as you think you realize that you perceive that your vision is through these eyes that are in this head, that is part of this body, and I look in the mirror and I see someone and it has a name. That's ego. That just means self. This identity, this vehicle. But essentially all we are is parts, aspects, franchises, if you will, of the original mind. That's why, the name of the game here with all of these laws, the name of the game here is manifest. That's the order of the day. All we're doing is manifesting in delay, right? And the only reason that we can manifest, reason 1 out of 7, is because of the law of mentalism. The fact that you can hold a thought in your mind, not tell anyone about it ever, and at some point it will show up in your life. The only connection between your mind and what manifested is because it's the same mind. Does that make sense?
Thoughts are very powerful things that can control the foundation of all objective matter. Thoughts are information units that can weave and meld into other more complex thoughts, using electromagnetic properties inherent within each of them. These thoughts can grow in strength, as individuals and as conglomerations, thanks to these inherent electromagnetic properties, and also through the power of human attention. Highly focused and trained human attention, which is sometimes referred to as psychic power, can attract and intensify thoughts, because it is able to project life force. At the moment of their inception, thoughts can be considered mental images or ideas. As the frequencies become more solid, from our physical point of view, thoughts could be considered something like emotions, or emotion-generating ideas. As the frequency of a thought comes closer to what we would consider physical reality, this thought could then be called a belief. Beliefs become truths, and these truths soon become undeniable facts. Within short order, and under favorable conditions, facts become objects or events in what we call physical reality. A great example of how all this works can be seen when we study thought forms. Thought forms are psychically intense thoughts, that is, thoughts that have been given a great deal of attention and emotional or psychic energy. Thought forms can also be a conglomeration of many thoughts that unite because they share similar information. Thoughts therefore are information packets of varying intensity, which in the physically objective world we refer to as size. As I mentioned, the inherent electromagnetic property of thoughts means that they are attracted to each other in varying degrees. Like attracts like, and the thought's intensity determines its electromagnetic strength, which determines its magnetic power. This attraction of one thought to another never stops, which means that thoughts are in a constant state of growth and change, and the speed of this change is directly related to the size, or intensity, of that thought. From our physical perspective, this attraction of invisible thoughts continues over time, until a large conglomeration of thoughts is able to unite and interweave to create a stronger unit that can become quite complex and powerful. The more powerful the thought form becomes, the easier it is for it to affect objective physical reality.
The principle of mentalism states that the all, everything in creation, is actually a manifestation of mind. The all is mind. Okay, what this means is everything that happens has to be a result of a mental state which preceded it. Everything. For anything to exist, thoughts had to form first, and then they formed the physical reality after. The universe itself is a mental construct of the Creator. Thoughts lead to the manifestation of things and events. Thoughts create conditions. Thoughts create things and conditions. They cannot just magically manifest themselves. Thought comes first. Thoughts create our state of existence and the quality of our experience here on earth, ultimately. Therefore, be responsible for everything. We should be responsible for everything that we create by being responsible for that which we think. Because the thought processes are what are driving the behaviors. People behave the way they do because they have certain belief systems embedded in the mind and running like a program. Their thoughts and their emotions are driving their actions. So the behavior's not magically suddenly going to just change. The thoughts and emotions have to change because they're the driving force behind the behavior. That's when reality will change. See, people don't want to hear that, once again. They don't want to hear, if you want to change reality, you, yourself, have to change the way you think. Because the way you think is not conducive to the requirements for getting what you say you want. They're doing the exact opposite of that in many cases.
It has been noticed that all matter is in a constant state of vibration or motion, that the molecule is made up of rapidly moving particles called atoms, which in turn are made up of rapidly moving particles called electrons. In every particle of matter there is an invisible force which causes the atoms to circle around one another at an inconceivable rate of speed. One rate of vibration causes what is known as sound. The human ear can detect only the sound that is produced from 20 to about 20,000 cycles per second. As the rate of cycles per second increases above that which we call sound, they begin to manifest themselves in the form of heat. Still higher up the scale, vibrations or cycles begin to register in the form of light. Ultraviolet rays are normally invisible, and energy with a wavelength of higher order than ultraviolet is also invisible but can have a tremendous effect on physical objects. Science is still probing these upper limits, and perhaps future discoveries will explain what today remains a mystery. Yet still higher up the scale, just how high no one is able to say at this point, the vibrations or cycles create the power, I believe, with which human beings think. It is my belief that all vibration, out of which grow all known forms of energy, is universal in nature, that the fluid portion of light, the difference in effect between sound and light being only a difference in rate of vibration, also that of thought is exactly the same as that in sound, heat, and light, excepting the number of vibrations per second. Just as there is but one form of physical matter, of which the Earth and all the other planets, suns, and stars are composed, so there is but one form of energy, which causes all matter to remain in a constant state of rapid motion. Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the long-distance telephone and one of the accepted authorities on the subject of vibration, is here introduced in support of my theories of vibration. Quote, "Suppose you have the power to make an iron rod vibrate with any desired frequency in a dark room. At first, when vibrating slowly, its movement will be indicated only by one sense, that of touch. As soon as the vibrations increase, a low sound will emanate from it, and it will appeal to two senses. At about 32,000 vibrations to the second, the sound will be loud and shrill, but at 40,000 vibrations it will be silent, and the movements of the rod will not be perceived by touch. Its movements will be perceived by no ordinary human sense. From this point up to about 1.5 million vibrations per second, we have no sense that can appreciate any effect of the intervening vibrations. After that stage is reached, movement is indicated first by the sense of temperature, and then, when the rod becomes red hot, by the sense of sight. At 3 million vibrations it sheds violet light. Above that it sheds ultraviolet rays and other invisible radiation, some of which can be perceived by instruments and employed by us. Now it has occurred to me that there must be a great deal to be learned about the effect of those vibrations in the great gap where the ordinary human senses are unable to hear, see, or feel the movement. The power to send wireless messages by ether vibrations lies in that gap, but the gap is so great that it seems there must be much more. You must make machines practically to supply new senses as the wireless instruments do. Can it be said, when you think of that great gap, that there are not many forms of vibrations that may give us results as wonderful as, or even more wonderful than, the wireless waves? It seems to me that in this gap lie the vibrations that we have assumed to be given off by our brains and nerve cells when we think. But then again, they may be higher up in the scale beyond the vibrations that produce the ultraviolet rays. Do we need a wire to carry these vibrations? Will they not pass through the ether without a wire, just as the wireless waves do? How will they be perceived by the recipient? Will he hear a series of signals, or will he find that another man's thoughts have entered into his brain? We may indulge in some speculations based on what we know of the wireless waves, which, as I have said, are all we can recognize of a vast series of vibrations which theoretically must exist. If the thought waves are similar to the wireless waves, they must pass from the brain and flow endlessly around the world and the universe. The body and the skull and other solid obstacles would form no obstruction to their passage as they pass through the ether which surrounds the molecules of every substance, no matter how solid and dense. You ask if there would not be constant interference and confusion if other people's thoughts were flowing through our brains and setting up thoughts in them that did not originate with ourselves? How do you know that other men's thoughts are not interfering with yours now? I have noticed many phenomena of mind disturbances that I have never been able to explain. For instance, there is the inspiration or the discouragement that a speaker feels in addressing an audience. I have experienced this many times in my life and have never been able to define exactly the physical causes of it. Many recent scientific discoveries, in my opinion, point to a day not far distant perhaps when men will read one another's thoughts, when thoughts will be conveyed directly from brain to brain without intervention of speech, writing, or any of the present known methods of communication. It is not unreasonable to look forward to a time when we shall see without eyes, hear without ears, and talk without tongues. Briefly, the hypothesis that mind can communicate directly with mind rests on the theory that thought or vital force is a form of electrical disturbance, that it can be taken up by induction and transmitted to a distance either through a wire or simply through the all-pervading ether, as in the case of wireless telegraph waves. There are many analogies suggesting that thought is of the nature of an electrical disturbance. A nerve which is of the same substance as the brain is an excellent conductor of the electrical current. When we first passed an electrical current through the nerves of a dead man, we were shocked and amazed to see him sit up and move. The electrified nerves produced contraction of the muscles very much as in life. The nerves appear to act upon the muscles very much as the electric current acts upon an electromagnet. The current magnetizes a bar of iron placed at right angles to it, and the nerves produce, through the intangible current of vital force that flows through them, contraction of the muscular fibers that are arranged at right angles to them. It would be possible to cite many reasons why thought and vital force may be regarded as of the same nature as electricity. The electric current is held to be a wave motion of the ether, the hypothetical substance that fills all space and pervades all substances. We believe that there must be ether because without it the electrical current could not pass through a vacuum or sunlight through space. It is reasonable to believe that only a wave motion of a similar character can produce the phenomena of thought and vital force. We may assume that the brain cells act as a battery, and that the current produced flows along the nerves. But does it end there? Does it not pass out of the body in waves which flow around the world unperceived by our senses, just as the wireless waves passed unperceived before Hertz and others discovered their existence? Unquote. Every mind both a broadcasting and a receiving station. More times than I can enumerate, I have proven to my own satisfaction at least that every human brain is both a broadcasting and a receiving station for vibrations of thought frequency. If this theory should turn out to be a fact and methods of reasonable control should be established, imagine the part it would play in the gathering, classifying, and organizing of knowledge. The possibility, much less the probability of such a reality, is staggering. Thomas Paine was one of the great minds of the American Revolutionary period. To him perhaps more than any other one person, we owe both the beginning and the happy ending of the Revolution. For it was his keen mind that both helped in drawing up the Declaration of Independence and in persuading the signers of that document to translate it into terms of reality. In speaking of the source of his great storehouse of knowledge, Paine thus described it, quote, "Any person who has made observations on the state of progress of the human mind by observing his own cannot but have observed that there are two distinct classes of what are called thoughts, those that we produce in ourselves by reflection and the act of thinking, and those that bolt into the mind of their own accord."
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
The one universal mind, reality and purpose. The universal mind always tries to teach its entities of thought, mankind, about its reality and their purpose, through the medium of creative inspiration. However, because of the resistance and creative misconceptions that mankind introduces, the perception is that this cannot be achieved within illusionary frameworks of time and space, which defines periods within creations. These particular creations just disappear and are de-vibrated in the swirling of the real black hole of the mind. Most human entities spend their waking lives hypnotized by their sensory world, which gives them the illusion of the material reality they live in. In reality, space and time are really non-existent, both at the level of pure aware consciousness and also at the level of the unaware blind parts that they experience, because it is the illusion of creative thought within an illusory space-time construct called creation. Consciousness provides the energy of life. Original consciousness has an unfathomable number of connections to the general thought supercomputer. Each connection will be projected for a perceptual lifetime into a story creation thinking that is a particular character experiencing a particular life, surrounded by particular entities and reality within an illusory space-time holographic virtual reality. The creation and the individual will be given a certain history of linearly coherent perceptual history and a sense of possible, probable futures. All we are is but wonderful holograms of the pure vibratory light, interfacing with creative thought. We believe in a material reality because our senses fool us by the rules of the Matrix into perceiving that a solid world exists out there. Light is but hollow. All is holographic. All is holy. This is all it can be. All the rest is a grand illusion created by the original mind. The construct to the matrix of life is pure light, and the modulating factor is information thought. As a matter of fact, all light is vibratory thought, like what we create when we dream. Vibratory light is light vibrated by sound, manifesting as the material biological world as it is decoded by our brains. Each connection of original consciousness, awareness, is therefore projected into an individual holographic virtual reality world, which the general thought supercomputer will coordinate with the other connections of awareness thought that interact with the same virtual reality movie, creation. Our universe is composed of extremely restricted awareness consciousnesses. It is considered to be very experimental and dangerous creation, because within its original concept, the degree of induced amnesia is maximum.
The Matrix is everywhere. It's all around us. Here, even in this room. You can see it out of your window or on your television. You feel it when you go to work, or go to church, or pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. That you, like everyone else, was born into bondage. Kept inside a prison that you cannot smell or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.